What's up, this is GM, and before I start, I want to tell you about TubeBuddy. In case you don't know, TubeBuddy is a free website that will help you manage and grow your YouTube channel. Thanks to them, some of my videos even show up as top results. Want to give them a try? Check the description below for the link. Today's product is Feetmat's mesh sneakers. So in the box we only had was this shoe inside of a bag. The shoes are put together and just put into the bag. It doesn't mess up the shoes in any way, and it's actually pretty well packaged. So I actually got 4 pairs of these shoes. Right here I have the gray and white one, and I'll show the other 3 colors later on in the video. But the reason I got 4 is I just loved how this first pair came out, so I thought I'd get a few more and check out the color variations on them. So let's start with the inside. It's really well cushioned on the heel. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. So as you can see, the cushioning, the lighting in here isn't the best, but here we have the cushioning. It's pretty thick right here, as you can see. It's about the same thickness as maybe like half my finger. And then also we have cushioning on the top up here as well, going all the way in up until about right here. So the reason for all that padding, oh, also on the side we have cushioning, of course. So pretty much it's circled around in this area. So the reason we have so much cushioning on the heel is to prevent it from kind of like the roughness of a shoe from rubbing up against your heel and causing it to kind of dry up and maybe start bleeding. I've experienced that from some of my other shoes. So it's nice that they added that little bit of cushion right there. Then the reason that they added the cushioning on the sides and on the top is mainly because of the laces, because when you pull the laces tight on your foot, and when you tie them really tight, it can sometimes cause pain on the top of your foot, as well as maybe like some blood circulation issues. So the cushioning kind of helps alleviate that so that you don't feel that discomfort all the time, and that is something I've experienced with a lot of my shoes in the past. So that extra padding is very helpful. The insole is also pretty standard in cushioning as well. The bottom is something I really like. So here's the bottom. Let me go and move that lace out of the way. The bottom is something I really like. The pattern will help with traction and prevent slipping. As you can see, it goes kind of deep in. Let's see, I'm trying to get the lighting just right. So as you can see, it goes kind of deep in, and so all these circles are what's on the pretty much the, well, technically the bottom, but like sticking out the most right there. So that way, and it's also very rubbery, so it won't slip easily at all. But I also like how much compression they can take. So it's gonna be kind of hard to tell, but they can take a lot of force on them, and they do kind of take in that, it's pretty much like shock absorption. So when you run or exercise, you can see kind of, it'll keep it from pretty much being too rigid. It'll kind of take in some of the blows from the running and exercising. I also love just like the look of the inside right there. So I'm actually gonna zoom in a bit and just refocus this a bit. Alright, so if you look right there, there's like these little circle looking things, kind of like pellets, and pretty much that reminds me of the Boost material that Adidas uses in their shoes, and pretty much that's pretty neat looking. Boost is a pretty expensive material that Adidas puts in a lot of their shoes nowadays, and it kind of gives that kind of cracked pattern, and it's claimed to be really comfortable. So I think what this shoe is kind of going for is to mimic that style, because I don't think they're allowed to use the actual Boost material. However, when I feel it, it does feel somewhat similar to the actual Boost material as well. So I don't know, I think it's more for show, but it might help also just by having it in that pattern. And if you look on the side, it also has the same type of pattern right there, the cracked Boost looking pattern, which is also pretty good at absorbing some shock. When I put pressure on it, it's pretty good at absorbing that. So I do like that they kind of copy that look, but it definitely isn't going to be the exact same material. As for the sizing was pretty much exactly the same as what I usually go with, no issues. I probably could have gone for like maybe half a size smaller if I wanted, and it still would have fit just fine, but I think going for my normal size was probably the best bet on this one. And they are really comfortable while exercising. It took me a few days to break them in, but once I did break them in, they're really good for working out and exercising. So now let's take a look at all the 4 colors I got. A lot of times companies, what they'll do is they'll edit the pictures on Amazon just enough to look more appealing without it being overly obvious, so that you don't think you got ripped off. So that's why I got 4 pairs, so we can see if there's any real differences between the actual product and what you see on Amazon. Alright, so the biggest thing I usually notice with the shoes is that companies like to add more saturation to the pictures, so the colors stand out a little bit more. They also like to brighten it up a bit and increase the contrast. They also like to increase the presence of the more subtle colors in the design. So those are kind of the things I'm going to be looking at when I go through these shoes. So let's see if I can spot any real big issues between the shoes and the pictures. So right here we have the shoe that's classified as gray and white on the page, although I think it's more of a gray, black and white, but I guess they went with white because of the sole, and then gray because that's the main color that's present in this fabric. So the picture shows as being gray with black lines going through. As you can see here, you do see the black lines, but it shows it with gray with black lines going through. That's definitely true. It does follow the pattern, however, the black lines going through seems somewhat more pronounced in the pictures, making the overall shoe look a little darker on Amazon, in my opinion. The actual shoe doesn't seem that way. The black stripes seem to be a little less prominent, therefore making the shoe look a little bit more on the gray side than on the dark gray or black side. I personally love how this shoe looks. It makes it much more subtle and makes the colors look like they blend together more. The difference in the picture and the actual shoe is really not much at all. I think it has more to do with how the light hits it when you look at the shoe as well, because if you look at this in a slightly dimmer area, the black isn't as easy to notice as it is right now. So I think it really does have more to do with just how the lighting is. Otherwise, I think it looks pretty much just like the picture that's on Amazon. Alright, so now I'm gonna go and switch this shoe out. For this one, go and center that up a bit. So this one is called the black and gray shoe. That's what's classified as on Amazon. So I got this since it seems similar to the last one, except now it's black with gray lines. It also has a black sole instead of a white sole. So I'll go and show you that sole real quick. I actually kind of like the black sole, especially with the crack pattern on it. It mimics the white sole exactly, just with obviously black coloring instead of white coloring. But yeah, the black sole looked exactly the same as the white one. Pattern for this one on the picture showed a pretty even distribution of black and gray lines throughout the design. If you look at the shoe, it looks exactly the same. I would have to say the picture does not look exaggerated at all for this one, and looks just like the real shoe. I honestly think it works well with this design as well. Personally, I think the whole shoe, if the whole shoe is black, it would be overwhelming, so the gray adds a nice amount of variation to make it look nice. Because as you can see, it looks kind of like a static type of pattern, and I kind of like that. That's kind of why I thought the gray shoe would be nice too. But as you can see, the gray is just subtle enough, but like makes it stand out without it being overly overwhelming, I guess. Because if it was all black, I have had some all black shoes, I feel like all black with the black sole and the black fabric makes it just a little too overwhelmingly black. So with this little strips of gray in it, it kind of makes it look a little bit more natural in my opinion. Alright, off to the next shoe. So this one is the all red shoe. It's just classified as, I believe, red on Amazon for this category. So I was curious about this one since the first picture looked more saturated than the other pictures for this listing. So I wanted to see which it was closer to. My initial reaction was that it was like the first picture, but as I compared it more, I realized it's just how the light hits it. That's something that can be said for pretty much all these shoes. It's pretty much based on how the lighting hits the shoe itself. So sorry about that. So yeah, I realized that the lighting, like right now, as you can see, it makes it look a lot more saturated than it really is. But if you look at it in normal lighting, in maybe even dimmer areas, it looks a little bit more subtle red, kind of like the pictures that are shown on Amazon after the first picture for this specific shoe. But yeah, other times it looks more like what it should really look. And I personally don't mind either way. So it looks kind of saturated here, but if you look at it in person, not on the camera, it actually doesn't even look as saturated as it does on the camera, which I think it's just my camera having some issues with it. But I do like the red sole on this as well. So the red sole, of course, mimics the black and the white sole perfectly. Crack pattern on the side, kind of like the boost design on the bottom as well. So it matches the other soles perfectly fine. That was another reason I got this, to just see if there's any variation in soles for the different shoes, because all 4 shoes have different colored soles. It's padded all throughout the inside and everything as well. But back to the look of it, yeah, I think it matches the picture perfectly, honestly. I think the reason, honestly, for the pictures being slightly different on Amazon was because of the lighting. So sometimes, like I said, it looks overly saturated, sometimes it looks undersaturated. It's just based on how the picture's taken for a shoe like this. Next one, and last one, that I got was the blue and red. It's classified as red and blue on the Amazon page, and you can see why. I was more curious about this shoe than most of the others. I'll go ahead and say that the picture for this shoe is pretty spot on. The red streaks in the blue match pretty well. They're pretty evenly distributed and have about the same shade without being oversaturated. I think red has a tendency to look slightly oversaturated in pictures. This shade of red especially with the other shoe. So I think since it's all blue with just subtle bits of red, it doesn't look as saturated in real life or even in the picture. The only difference might be the sole. Actually, the sole in the picture makes it look a little bit brighter, but in reality, I think it's a little bit more subtle blue. It's not as saturated or as bright in real life as it is on the pictures on Amazon, which I personally prefer to be slightly more dull like this, because you don't want just the sole to stick out too much. However, the sole itself matches all the other soles. This is of course a blue sole versus the white, black, and red one I've already shown. It looks like it has the cracked boost pattern on the bottom as well on the side with no real difference. Overall, I think this one matches pretty spot on though to the picture on Amazon as well. So pretty much to summarize, all 4 of these do a really good job of matching the picture on Amazon. Slight variations I saw were mainly on the red one, and that I think again only has to do with lighting. The gray one also may be slightly different, but again I think that's due to lighting, because sometimes it looks just like the picture on Amazon, sometimes it looks slightly off. And again, I think that really does just have to do with how much lighting they used in the picture. After going through all 4 shoes, I definitely would have to say they're worth getting. They use a design that looks good without standing out too much. They also have that Adidas boost look on the sole, which is currently really popular. So you pretty much get the look without having to pay hundreds of dollars for the shoe. There are also many other color options other than these, which means that you can find at least one pair that suits you. I just chose these 4 because I thought they were interesting and might be good for this video, but there's so many choices, you can definitely find a shoe that you like. Alright everyone, that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. Link to this product is in the description below. Be sure to check out TubeBuddy below as well. Thanks for watching.